SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota Legislature and in-depth reporting from peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts Programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota Legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder.
House Education will resume, please. The next bill that we're taking up is House Bill 1168. And we have to kind of hurry here because we've got people that need to go down to appropriations. So if you want to start, Representative Sharda, with your bill, that would be fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee. It has come to my attention that, and probably some of yours too, that the homeschoolers don't like this bill. So I have an amendment. I'd like to pass 1168B.
Second.
You want me to comment on it?
That was moved by Representative Rice and seconded by Representative Jordan. All in favor? Do you have?
Manhart.
Or Manhart, excuse me. Do we need a minute to look at it?
You want me to comment on it, or?
Yeah, or comment, sure.
Okay, 1168B just strikes out everything with alternative instruction, so it'll just affect non-public schools.
Okay, okay. Any questions of the committee on that amendment? Strikes out the homeschool? Okay. If there are no questions, we'll have a voice vote then. All in favor of the amendment passage, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, we have the amendment approved. If you would like to go ahead with your bill, that would be just wonderful.
Okay, thank you, John Sharda, District 2. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of House Bill 1168B, a proposal that provides a property tax credit for certain educational expenses in South Dakota. HB 1168B is a straightforward, family-centered bill that keeps more of South Dakotans' hard-earned money in their pockets when they invest in their children's education. At its heart, this bill recognizes a simple truth. Parents are the primary educators of their children. Whether a child attends a public school, a private school, a small church school, parents are making real financial sacrifices to do what they believe is best for their kids. HB 1168B says that when the families shoulder those educational costs, the state will meet them partway through a targeted property tax credit. Property taxes are among the biggest ongoing expenses for South Dakota homeowners, especially young families and seniors on fixed incomes. At the same time, educational costs continue to increase. HB 1168B connects these two realities. It offers a limited, focused credit to property owners who can document qualifying educational expenses for their children, providing relief where it is needed most. This bill respects South Dakota's longstanding values of educational freedom and local control. It does not create a new bureaucracy. Instead, it empowers parents to decide what's best for their children and allows them to keep a little bit more of their own money to support that decision. The choice remains with the family. HB 1168B simply lightens the financial load. Now, some will ask, what about revenue impact? That's an important question. HB 1168B is carefully structured as a targeted tax credit tied to documented educational expenses, not an open-ended subsidy. The credit is available only to property owners who show they've actually paid qualifying educational costs. That ensures accountability and keeps the benefit focused on the families who are making the financial investment in their children's education. It's also worth remembering that when families take on more of the cost of education outside the public system, they ease pressure on public resources. A child educated in a private school is one less student the district must serve with state aid, staff, and facilities. HB 1168B acknowledges and incentivizes that contribution in a modest, responsible way. Some will say tax policy should remain neutral between school choices, but our current system is not neutral. Property owners pay into the system regardless of where their children are educated, and families who choose alternative paths often pay twice, once through taxes and again through tuition. HB 1168 corrects that imbalance and restores fairness, all without taking funds away from our public schools. If you look at your handouts, let me briefly explain how the bill works. When you review your property tax statement, you'll notice that a portion of it goes to your local school district. Under HB 1168B, if your child is not enrolled in a public school, you make and you go to a non-public school, you may claim a tax rebate up to $1,000 or 80% of the school portion of your property tax, whichever is less, to help with qualifying educational expenses. The state will backfill that amount to the school district, ensuring that they do not lose any funding. Additionally, multiple property owners may contribute toward the same student, up to the per student equivalent as defined in the bill. You'll find two examples of the structure listed on your handouts. In closing, I urge you to view HB 1168B not just as a tax measure, but as a measure that gives families freedom. When we give parents better tools to support their children's education, we're investing in stronger families, better educated workforce, and thriving communities across our state. I respectfully ask your due pass recommendation on House Bill 1168B and for your support to South Dakota families who are working every day to give their children the best education they can. Madam Chair, I need to leave to appropriations. I will not be around for questions, but I have someone that will close up for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Other proponents in the room?
Well, good afternoon, committee.
Yeah, good morning, afternoon.
Tonti Weaver, South Dakota Citizens for Liberty. We support this bill because we look at it from a taxpayer's point of view. This is a tax credit. A brief explanation of why this is better than a voucher system. We like the idea of parental choice. And we like the idea of value for the money spent on education. We feel that this bill provides for both. So a tax credit is money that you do not give to the government, but you prove to the government that you spent it for a particular purpose. And in this case, education of a child in a non-public school. If you're the government, which you are, and I give you $1 and you give me 50 cents back, I think I'm getting a refund, and you think you're giving me a subsidy. So therein lies the difference. A voucher would be actually a subsidy, but this is just credit for money that was spent for an education purpose. It's a new way of thinking about how we fund education. Article 8, Section 1 of our state constitution promises the children of South Dakota an education by any means that is appropriate. And the reason for that being that it is in the interest of the state to have a moral and intelligent population. So that is true, but it does not promise the children of South Dakota to the public school system or to the Department of Education. Now, we're not trying to harm the public school system, but there are parents and, grandparents. The beauty of this is in Section 1, you can see lines 12 through 13, the child for which education expenses are incurred is not required to be a child of the owner or the property for a tax credit to be received pursuant to this act. So this is a way for taxpayers to speak about how their money is spent for education. If you scroll down and with the amendment, we see that Yeah, it only applies to non-public schools, not homeschools or micro schools or any of those other categories that had some heartburn over this. It is an opt-in. It is not an opt-out. And to me, an opt-in is always better because opt-in means that there is no authority to force something. You have to voluntarily do it. So going on to the portion where, the procedure is described, the person must apply for it first of all, and then there are caps in Section 3. It's the lesser of the two. Either 80% of the total amount of school district taxes owed to that school district by the owner of the property for that year, or $1,000. So this is kind of a modest, way of approaching school choice. As you scroll down to Section 5, and then there are requirements. Maybe I shouldn't go that fast. In Section 4, it tells you how you prove that you have met this requirement. It has minimal invasive information. It just verifies that the student is a student at whatever educational facility that they are enrolled in, and it is signed by the property owner under penalty of perjury. So in Section 5, the property tax bill that the property owner receives must reflect any tax credits received pursuant to this act. And for purposes in Section 6, for purposes of determining local effort, a property tax credit issued under this act is deducted from the local effort in the district which the property is located. I would actually like to see this go to another committee, appropriations, because I think this is, I know that there are concerns about how is this going to affect school districts. Well, I think that the attitude towards educating children is beneficial to the state. Just as with economic development, we grant TIFs because they're beneficial in many ways for economic development. And if that benefits the state, when we make local school districts harmless, they're held harmless in the event of an economic development TIF, the state then reimburses the local district. So the local district is held harmless, but they are not having the burden, of educating the child. So with that, hopefully I have answered some questions. Maybe I've inspired some more, but I will be here, and feel free to call on me. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for filling in here. Much appreciated. Other proponent testimony? Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tara Larson. I'm an attorney here in Pierre and registered lobbyist for Yes Every Kid. We are a nationwide organization that supports school choice generally. We really like this bill. We liked it a lot better when it had, stuff for homeschoolers and microschoolers too, but I get it. I understand, and we want to make everybody happy. So we like this bill. We support this bill. It's late in the day. I will not waste anybody's time. I'm happy to stand by with questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Other proponent testimony? Proponent? If not, we'll close that portion, and we will move on to opponent testimony, please. Greetings.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Wendy Semler. I'm the director of the Property Tax Division for the Department of Revenue. This is not a typical committee that I get in front of, so you guys may not know me as well as some of the other committees of the taxation, but I've been with the department in the Property Tax Division for going on 20 years this summer. So I wanted to come and speak in opposition of 1168 today. And I have a couple of different points that I want to bring up, but the biggest one, or the first one I should say, is the administrative issues with this bill. So as written, the bill assigns responsibilities to an office at the county level that has no statutory authority or functional ability to administer the tax credit. The assessor's office has nothing to do with taxes. They determine assessed values. And while assessed values are what is eventually used to spread the tax burden, the assessor's office itself does not calculate taxes. They do not create the tax bill or have any connection to the tax bill other than providing the value that is on the front end of property tax calculation. The second administrative question that I have is that it does dictate the promulgation of rules and forms to the Department of Revenue, which is why I'm here today. But a lot of the requirements for what is involved in this, yes, the property tax credit, of course, is obviously under our jurisdiction, but in school enrollment, description of educational expenses, a lot of these things do not fall under our purview. So I have just concerns about that functionality. The bill, and as the proponents and sponsor mentioned, says that an owner of a property can apply for this tax credit, regardless if they are the parent of the child that they want to get the credit for. It's just an owner of property. So is that any type of property? That the way I read it, it's any type of property. So I own some ag land over in Han County. Does that mean I can get a school tax credit on my ag land that would take local effort away from the Miller School District so that I could help fund my college friend daughter who goes to a private school in Sioux Falls? And so that's the type of thing that when I read this, that's how I read that. And is that appropriate? That it's just a very ambiguous language that would create some administrative challenges and opportunities for inconsistent application. Also, how will this be policed? I know there's a perjury statement that would be required on the form, but would I have to give all my tax credit to this person's child? Obviously, I would hope that people would, but I'm just throwing that out there. Now, let's talk about the school funding impact. Students that are enrolled in alternative instruction, to my knowledge, again, this is not my area of expertise, but to my knowledge, they are not currently counted toward the district's need. So when you're looking at school funding in general, the need of the school district is tied to, the number of teachers needed based on the number of students that are there. So the children that are enrolled in that alternative instruction are not currently counted toward that district needs. So they wouldn't currently be receiving state funding for those students. So I feel like that would be taking money directly out of the district's budget. And it does sound like the apparent intent is then for the state to increase the state aid for that loss. But that raises two concerns. First, where is the additional money coming from? And second, state aid education supports only the general fund and special education funds. Property taxes, though, also fund capital outlay and bond levies. And so those impacts are not addressed in this bill. And then, of course, there's the issue of equity. We did hear the proponents say that this makes it more fair and equal. But the way I see this is that this bill provides targeted property tax relief to a specific group of property owners, regardless of financial need. Parents absolutely have the right to choose where their parents are educated, what is best for that child. But the question before this committee is whether that choice should entitle someone to a property tax credit that will potentially underfund the school district, or at least be funded through other taxpayers through the state aid that has to be kicked in. So for those reasons, I respectfully ask you to vote no on House Bill 1168, and I'm happy to stand by for questions.
Thank you. Other opponents? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Garth Wadsworth with Elevate Rapid City. A couple issues. First of all, there are no safeguards. There are no enrollment-based adjustment mechanisms within the bill, and critically, there's no limit to the reduction in local effort within the bill. So I always hesitate to assume the intent of the bill, but it seems that the thinking is anytime we have a enrollment in a non-public school, we have a corresponding decrease in enrollment in a public school. The thinking is the money will follow that student as they leave a public school and enroll somewhere else. That is not what this bill does. we can all imagine that our local districts have some combination of students in both public schools and non-public schools. So if we have 100 students at the public school and 100 students in a non-public school, and this bill were to pass, and every single one of those students would apply for the tax credit that they are now eligible for, we would see a corresponding decrease equal to 100 students leaving that local school district, when in fact they are still there. The classrooms are still full, and they've lost all that funding. And so there is no limit to that. There is nothing that places a cap on how much money we can lose from those local school districts. Every time we lose money, the state has to step in and fill that gap. So this is going to cost the state a lot of money. So we just ask for your opposition. At the very least, please send to House of Probes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Sandra Waltman with the South Dakota Education Association. You'll have to excuse me, I was in this exact same chair last evening, but it was Health and Human Services, so if I get a little confused, please forgive me. We are opposing this bill this evening. This bill does divert public dollars from public education. And if you want to have a discussion about whether they truly are public dollars because you're getting a tax credit, at the very least what this bill is going to do is it's going to give a tax credit to a particular group of people, but it's going to shift taxes to others. We are also concerned about who is administering this bill. The county assessor's office, do they have the staff or the necessary background to be able to administer this? We're also very confused about who actually gets the tax credit. Is it the parent or is it somebody else? And here's a real life example. My mother owns property in 3 different districts. The Aberdeen School District, she owns it in the Leola School District, and she owns some in the Ipswich School District. She has grandchildren who do attend a private school in Aberdeen. If she pays their tuition, does she get a tax credit in all 3 of those school districts? Is that fair to those school districts where those students don't reside? I do want to say that this is, it's a very cumbersome bill. I don't think it's workable. It will increase taxes for other people. And for that, we think you should resist this bill and send it to the Appropriations Committee with a do not pass recommendation.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman and members of the House Education Committee. I'm Diana Miller, registered lobbyist for the Large School Group, and I'm going to try to point out a couple different things. First of all, let me compliment the people who brought this. This is a new way to try to do things, and I want to compliment those people because it's not a straight out voucher, take money from public schools and run away and take our money. No, this is a different option. However, I also want to point out the federal government, President Trump has proposed almost a similar bill to this in the big, beautiful bill. And the fact of the matter is that proposes a tax credit for private, public, alternative school, non-accredited public, across the board. The IRS is currently in the procedure of developing the rules, and we support that bill. In case you didn't hear me right, we're going to support something like that as long as public schools stay in that, because that's called fair, equitable distribution. Fair and equitable are 2 words in the South Dakota Constitution, and we believe in that. So we think this bill is an innovative way to do things. However, it's premature, and we ought to wait till the federal government, IRS, declares the rules. Governor Roden announced that bill in Sioux Falls, or the proposed bill, in late fall. And the fact of the matter is, it's very similar to this, not with the complication of how to administer the fund. It's much simpler than that. So I'm saying this bill is a little early. We're not saying that it won't work necessarily at the federal level, but the federal level has a less complicated procedure for how to take the tax credit from people that pay federal income tax. I think secondly, I would point out in Section 3, And I've tried to read this, and contrary to what some people think, I do understand the formula. The formula is not that difficult to understand if you work with it a lot. And consequently, when I hear the state will hold us harmless, when I'm getting 0% increase, I don't know how I'm held harmless. That's kind of a good question for this year. But the fact is, you can't guarantee that the state would hold us harmless. How much money can we do that? Now, let me ask you this question, because it's been posed. Is it the owner of the property? What about a renter who sends their child to private school, but they're not the owner of the property? Do they get a tax credit on their taxes? We don't know that. How about the person, as you've just heard from Sandra Waltman, if you own property in 3 different districts? It's not manageable the way it's written. And the other thing I would ask is, if you follow this formula, in line 1 it says 80% of the total amount of school district taxes owed to that school. So you're looking at the taxes that that school or that person pays to the school on your tax form by the owner for that year, or $1,000. I'm trying to work a formula that I can actually figure here. But the amount of property tax was explained very well. If you take, and I'm not going to go back through that, you take 100 kids here and they move to a private school, you don't lose money for that 100 in that classroom. You can't make those cuts. You might have kids in 5 or 6 different grades. That doesn't mean you make the cuts. Then I go over to section 6. For purposes of determining local effort, under 1313 and 1337, a property tax credit deducted from the local effort in that district in which the property is located. Think about some of your school districts that cross over property lines. They're located in 2 different counties, 2 different areas. I'm not saying this is a bad concept or a bad idea. It's just the way it's drafted now is unworkable, and we can't administer it. And we don't know the ramifications on dollar amount to schools, whereas you will know with the federal law because it's on your federal taxes. And it's not the complicated formulas that are in here. So at this particular point, Madam Chair and members of the committee, I respectfully ask that you defeat House Bill 1168 and move it to the 41st legislative date. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sorry about the long day.
Good evening or afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We're just kind of getting started, aren't we, in the middle of it a little bit? Heath Larson, Executive Director, Associated School Boards of South Dakota. The previous opponents did a fantastic job putting this into discussion and play for you today. The reality is this bill is unworkable. This bill is unworkable. And I don't say that lightly, because we want to work. And as Ms. Miller mentioned, and part of the One Big Beautiful Bill is the federal tax credit that South Dakota has signed on to. And we want to be at the table and have that conversation. Now, that's an income tax situation, dollar for dollar, $1,700. But we want to be at the table with our public schools for that, as that is part of it as well. So that's not part of this bill, but for your information, just so you know, that is coming. They're writing the rules, they're writing the regs at the U.S. Treasury currently as we speak. To this specific bill, here's why it's unworkable. We have a hard enough time funding one system in this state the way it is right now. I'm not sure how we could afford to do this. Local effort issues, expecting state revenues and state aid to backfill. We have a 0% recommendation. This is unworkable in this bill the way it's written. Just want to, make one last, comment from a thought of, voucher scenario. And I don't like to use that word. This is voucher-esque, okay? This is voucher-esque. And again, we rise in opposition to this bill. We urge you to send it to the 41st day. This bill is unworkable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents in the room? Hello?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Derek Hills, registered lobbyist for the Sioux Falls School District and the Rapid City area schools. We'll just put in a simple me too. We are also in opposition of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Anybody else? Any other opponents? Seeing no other opponents, we'll close that portion of the testimony and we'll go on with rebuttal.
Oh, goody, it's me. Okay, Madam Chair, Tonchi Weaver again. I think there's a lot of maybe histrionics here. I think when we look at the simple components here, the idea is not to make this a bonanza for a property owner that now he can deduct, you know, for all of his properties, and renters won't pay it because they don't pay property tax. Their landlord may be able to, you know, if they want to help their renter educate their kids in a non-public school, that would be an option for the landlord that owns the property. But yeah, you can only use this privilege once, and I don't think that we're going to see a huge mass exodus out of public schools. I think that this is going to benefit people whose children are already in non-public schools, and that to me is worth this. I don't know if you want to call it an experiment. I would call it a bold stroke. And I think the president would agree that it's a bold stroke. And, you know, let's talk about it some more. Let's not just kill it here. I am not privy to all of the conversations the sponsor has had with other people. He could probably do a much better job defending this bill. He is an appropriator, though, so maybe that's where this bill belongs. With that, I would ask you to move it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll close the rebuttal now, and we will move on to committee questions. Committee questions.
I have a question.
Okay, Representative Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the prime, or the co-prime. Thank you, Tonchi.
Yes.
So homeschoolers are still concerned about this bill, with some comments of just with the curriculum cost rising. Will education and curriculum potentially rise due to this?
Madam Chair, I don't believe so. I can't make that connection myself. I do think homeschoolers always worry about a slippery slope of some kind, and that's why opt-in is protective. It's protective of them, because with an opt-out, it assumes that there is an authority that unless the person does something, jumps through some hoop, they have to do something. And opt-in means that there is no authority to force them to do it. It is of their own volition.
We have another one. You can have a follow-up. Go ahead.
So I didn't see Dr. Graves here opposing this. Did you guys talk at all with
Again,
Dr. Graves?
Madam Chair, again, I am not privy to the conversations that the sponsor has had. I would assume he probably has, but I can't speak for him.
Okay, Representative Swans, did you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to ask the question to Diana Miller.
Okay.
I'm just having trouble seeing everybody.
No, that's
so put your hand up if you have a question so I can see it.
Madam Chair, Diana Miller, representing the large school group. Yes.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So you made reference to the tax credit through the Big Beautiful Bill and the implementation of that through President Trump. And we have this bill in front of us that would give us a tax exemption as well. Which one would supersede? If this bill passed today, which one of these would supersede the other?
Well, thank you for the question. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a constitutional expert. So I don't know which one would supersede. This one wouldn't take effect until July 1, unless you put, an emergency clause on it. I would assume that the IRS and would hopefully get the regs drawn up and done before that time.
Ms. Miller,
Oh.
help is on the way.
Okay, help is on the way. Okay. I'm going to phone a friend, okay?
Just announce your
Madam
name.
Chair, Tara Larson, Representative Schwanz. The two bills, or the two programs are not mutually exclusive. They would both be, neither one would replace the other. You could take the benefit of both.
Thank you. Other questions of the committee? I have some questions if nobody else does. Mrs. Weaver, would you come up? I'll keep the name formal here. It was mentioned previously that this would be an administrative issue. What office would this go to? Who would handle it?
Administering it, I again have not spoken with the sponsor about that particular thing. I would think that it would be fairly simple. It's clear what paperwork is involved, and as far as administering it on the state level, I really can't say. I'm sorry.
Well, if you can't say, you can't say. Other questions? Let's see. Okay, Mr. Larson, would you come up, please? My question to you, sir, would be what would happen, okay, if 80% or $1,000 goes in credit away from the taxes to the child in a non-public school? Would we then stand to have the rest of the people try to make up for the loss in the schools? How does that roll?
Madam Chair, thanks for the question. Heath Larson, Executive Director, Associated School Boards. So you're talking, anytime you take money away, so you're talking issues with local effort, okay, which is part of the school funding formula. It's not the fault of the school, it's the system that's devised, okay? And then you have to replace the money to fill the bucket with state aid. So you're talking a very expensive task for the state of South Dakota, which is why I'm assuming the Department of Revenue was in opponent testimony today.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Representative Yuri Bach.
For Mrs. Weaver. Ms. Weaver.
Go ahead with your question.
Maybe you touched on this, but could you speak more specifically to how, if someone owns land in different counties, or how that would ensure that there's only one, tax credit given for the different land locations?
Okay, Madam Chair. I think I understand the question. Yes. If a person is in a different county, tell me if I'm getting this right. If I'm in this county and my grandchild is in another county and I want to help with their education, yes, my tax credit would occur in my county. But because it is in the state's interest to educate a child, then the expectation is that the state then would, just like they do with TIFs, then the state's portion of the education funding formula would grow a little bit to make that up.
Did you have further comments, Ms. Larson? I see you coming toward the front. So she's wiggling around there.
She's keeping my seat warm.
Yes. Thank you for helping us out with the answers.
Madam Chair, Tara Larson, yes, every kid, Representative Yuri Balk. Pursuant to Section 7 there is authority with the Department of Revenue. I would anticipate to promulgate rules, and I would anticipate that would be hashed out in the rule promulgation section. As to the question with regard to administration, if I might have some latitude, Madam Chair, as you would ask that question, the language of the bill sets forth essentially a collection at a county level with an administration through Department of Revenue as set forth in the sections of the bill.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I guess we'll close that portion of the testimony, and we'll go on to committee discussion and or action, please. Representative Manhart.
I move that we send to, was it House Appropriations? House Appropriations with a due pass recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion by Representative Manhart to send it to House Appropriations, and a second by Representative Jordan. Comments?
Well, so often in the legislature, we're so busy killing bad ideas, we sometimes forget what it looks like when we come across a good one. So I'd like to send this to House Appropriations and hopefully further this along the line.
It's a good bill. Please vote yes.
Substitute motion?
Representative DeGruit.
I move that we send it to the 41st day.
There's been a motion to send 41st day. Is there a second? Second by Representative Yuri Balk. Discussion? Discussion? You're good?
Yes, if I may have a comment.
Oh, absolutely.
I do want to echo Ms. Miller's comment of it is very creative, and I do appreciate that kind of new tweak to it. But I am concerned with just many of the things that have already been brought up, and so I will be politely sending it to the 41st day.
Thank you. Representative May.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I too appreciate all the comments, but I think out of respect for the good representative that brought this and being a past appropriator, I don't think we all realize just the pressure that they're under, and so there was revenue projections tonight. So I'm going to resist this motion and try to get it to appropriations and let them look at it. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, we are on the substitute motion to send it to the 41st day. I don't really want to make any comments, I guess. They kind of fall flat, it seems like, especially at this time of the day, maybe. The only comment I'd make is I don't think this is ready. I don't think my questions all were answered, but we will go on. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative.
This is for the 41st day.
Representative Garcia.
No.
DeGroot.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Rice.
No.
Schwanz.
No.
Baxter.
No.
Heerman.
Aye.
Ismay.
No.
Arland.
Aye.
Jordan.
No.
Yuri Balk.
Aye.
May.
No.
Manhart.
No.
Stevens, excuse. Greenfield.
Aye. Okay.
Madam Chair, there are 6 yeas, 8 nays, 1 excused.
Okay, so that motion has failed. Now we are back to the original motion of,
Madam Chair, can I make another substitute motion?
go ahead.
I move that we send it to, is it House Probes or joint? House Probes with a do not pass.
Okay, there's a motion to send it to House Appropriations with a do not pass. Is there a second? No one has a second? Okay, so it has been made a motion by Representative DeGroot and a second by Representative Halverson. I assume you have no comments. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll on that second substitute motion to send it to House Appropriations with the do not pass recommendation?
Representative Garcia.
No.
DeGroot.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Rice.
No.
Schwanz.
No.
Baxter.
No.
Heerman.
Aye.
Ismay.
No.
Arland.
Aye.
Jordan.
No.
Yuri Bulk,
Aye.
May, Manhart,
No.
Stevens, excuse, Greenfield.
Aye.
Madam Chair, there are 6 yeas, 8 nays, 1 excused.
Okay, so that motion has failed. We are on to the original motion, and that is to send it to the House Appropriations with a due pass recommendation. And so we will go back to that motion, and Mr. Secretary, you're getting your work out today. Please call the roll.
Representative Garcia,
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you clarify the vote, please?
It is a due pass motion. To House.
Just to clarify, could you tell me?
Yeah, it's a due pass motion, but we'd send it to House Appropriations for further review.
Okay, I'm an aye. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
DeGroot,
No.
Halverson,
No.
Rice,
Yes.
Schwanz,
Aye.
Baxter,
Aye.
Heerman,
No.
Ismay,
Yes.
Arland,
No.
Jordan,
Aye.
Yuri Bulk,
No.
May, Manhart,
Aye.
Stevens, excuse, Greenfield.
Aye.
Madam Chair, there are 9 yeas, 5 nays, 1 excused.
So with that, the House Bill 1168 passes on to House Appropriations. Representative May?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I make a motion to adjourn?
I have a couple things for you to chew over, I guess. I think we have about 4 or 5 bills left. And so I will just have it just let it be in your thought whether you want to do them all on Wednesday, before and after, or if you want to spread them out Wednesday and Friday. I'll take a poll. I'll send somebody around and take a poll as time goes on. So, Representative May has made the motion to adjourn, second by Representative Yuri Block. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you all for
SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to